There are variable details, and many of Prabhupada's statements were variable details. Another point, actually to answer your question I wanted to make, the other point is that when Prabhupada was here, it worked. I mean, it didn't work with older people, they despised us, but in terms of, because young people and old people just, they were really alienated, but it was working. The movement was growing, we were powerful, we were relevant, it was working. And now it's not. And if you study Prabhupada's life, every time in Prabhupada's life that a particular tactic didn't work, he changed it. So for you to say, or for anyone to say, that Prabhupada, for example, would visit his American temples and find they were no longer American temples, and he wouldn't change anything. What right do you have to say that? Throughout Prabhupada's life, whenever something didn't work, he made an adjustment. So what right does anyone have to say what Prabhupada would say if he came now? I sat at Prabhupada's feet so many times when Prabhupada, again, at press conferences, he was telling the world. He pointed to us, sitting there. He said, these are American boys and girls. I did not import them from India. It was working. Now, if he came to the temple, he'd have to say the opposite. So who presumes to say that if Prabhupada came back to America, and he would hardly recognize his temples, first of all. He would hardly recognize them. Everything utterly transformed. Prabhupada used to say that the churches are empty, our temples are full. Now the churches are full, and our temples are empty of Westerners. And Prabhupada wouldn't do anything? He wouldn't adjust anything? Who can say that? With what authority can someone say that? So it's not that some people just want to follow Prabhupada and some people want to change. No, I'm following Prabhupada, but other instructions that Prabhupada gave, and instructions which clearly need to be mobilized. They need to be activated because in the Western world, we're not winning the game. It's like a coach. We're losing the game. No, do the same thing. It's like, when Brazil played Germany in the World Cup. Anyone know about that? None of you know about it?
We try to not know about it.
What's it?
We try to not know about it.
Oh. Anyway, again,
I know the loss.
Yeah,
I know the loss.
Recreation, moderation didn't cause me to fall down. So, but what I'm saying is the team is losing. And the coach says, don't change anything. Just keep doing the same thing. And they keep losing. Don't change anything. That strategy is actually in every textbook ever written on business administration or how to manage corporations or organizations. They will tell you that's the sign that you are in deep trouble. That it's not working, you're not growing, but you have a culture within the corporation, don't criticize, just do the same thing. That is the classic response of a corporation that's not making it. So, again, you may agree with me, you may not agree with me, but we have to think about these things. And frankly, if the GBC or anyone else comes up with a better plan, I will be eternally grateful. Because it's not my first choice for my life to go everywhere and make arguments and bother people. It's not actually the first choice, my first choice. I'd rather write books. So if someone has a better plan, I'll be eternally grateful, and I'll be very happy to defer to your plan. Where's the better plan? If you do something for over a third of a century and it doesn't work, and then you say, okay, the plan is, let's do the same thing. I don't consider that a plan. So if someone has a better plan based on Prabhupada's instructions, and based on social science, based on history. In other words, a serious, intelligent plan that's been researched. Come up with it, and I'll join your thing. But where's the plan? Based on history, based on social science, based on Prabhupada. Yes?
I was wondering about two things.
Yes.
First of all, you mentioned yesterday that in ISKCON, you golden age in the beginning, where it was like a spiritual.
For the West.
Yeah.
For the West.
So I was just thinking about one thing that you mentioned, and how to implement it, like where I am in Brahmacharya ashram, for example, this I try to keep like some distance from like.
The women.
Yeah, of course, and like, especially when young women come, and like I meet them on the street and I distribute books to them, and then we exchange, and then in the temple I try to be a little more like.
Well, that's natural. At the same time, the real strategy for self-control is to respect women. Because lust, I mean, in terms of psychology, serious studies of it, lust means that a person wants to lord it over a woman, say in the case of a man being lusty. And so that's why we find that, I'm not accusing you of this, of course, but that's why we find that brahmacharis, and there have been such brahmacharis who are sannyasis, who sort of cultivate a low opinion of women. They're the ones that tend to fall down, the soonest. Because actually putting women down, thinking badly of women, there's a very thin line between that and sexually exploiting a woman. Because both of them are based on lording it over, both of them are based on thinking yourself better and, subjugating them. And actually it's exploitation of women, because in other words, rather than respecting a person, I will, in my mind, think badly of that person for my spiritual safety. So whenever you put someone else down for your happiness, that's called exploitation. And that's why, frankly, Krishna talks about this. Krishna talks about raga dvesha, being attached to something or despising it, hating it. They're just two sides of the same coin. So thinking badly of women and sexually exploiting women are just two sides of the same mental process. I'm not saying you're doing that. But if you need to keep a distance for your spiritual life, then you should do so. Everyone has a right to save themselves.
This was not so much about thinking bad of women. I just, like, in Western society, there's like a very loose interaction between men and women, the way we're brought up in the schools and chit-chat and this and that. So I'm just...
No, I understand. Yes, actually everywhere in the world. In any other country or India, there are ways that men and women seduce each other. And if it's a chaste culture, then even in India today, frankly, if you go to, say you're preaching at a university in India, the women aren't dressed in saris, believe me, most of them. So again, it's true the West is certainly still, India is becoming, if you look at Bollywood, it gets very erotic. I've seen very erotic shows at ISKCON Rath Yatras done by Bollywood people. There was one in Australia that amazed me. The women were thrusting out the more famous parts of their body. It was erotic, it was extremely erotic, and yet it was okay in front of Lord Jagannath because it was Indian. So I think that, we have, in ISKCON, I'm not criticizing you, but it's just a very deeply rooted habit to always put down the West. And you can't simultaneously insult people and attract them, unless you're attracting someone with a very weird psychology that likes to be abused. Some people like to be abused, so you will attract some people, but probably not the ones you want. Everyone has a right. Everyone has a right to do what they have to do to save themselves. We should just do what we need to do in a way that doesn't offend other people. Yes.
And then the other thing, you mentioned this about like change your strategy when something doesn't seem to work. So what is your position on like book distribution, outdoor Harinam and Prasadam distribution?
Yeah, we should do all three. At the right time, at the right place, in the right manner. That's what we do. That's our mission, to teach the world to chant Hare Krishna and give them knowledge. I think we should really try to give people books that they're likely to understand and be able to read, I don't think we can spread the movement just by having people touch sacred books or buy books that they don't read. I mean, we know that someone just has Prabhupada's book in their home, it's purifying, but Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita 1728, that any religious activity performed without faith gives very little result. So we should, and Prabhupada himself asked me to do that. I mean, Prabhupada himself wrote me a letter and said, read my books and then explain them in your own words. So the goal is to bring people to Prabhupada. We're not changing the goal. I don't have the purity to save the world. I just work here. Prabhupada is the one that actually has the purity and the potency to sustain a worldwide Krishna consciousness movement. So the goal is to bring people to Prabhupada. The question is, we have to be intelligent about how to get them there. And so, the fact that, let's say, you give out a particular book by Prabhupada doesn't mean that you're bringing someone to Prabhupada. We know in the old days in the airports that most, at least in LA, most of the huge percentage of the books were thrown away. So I'm very practical. We have to bring people to Prabhupada, but you've got to do it. You actually have to do that. If you give someone a book that they don't read or can't understand, you didn't bring someone to Prabhupada. So I think if we can somehow or other, whatever, it could be, Prabhupada's books, but somehow or other bring them to Prabhupada and actually get them there. As far as Harinam, yes, if we only took music as seriously as we took food. Because we see devotees all around the world have restaurants, like Govinda's restaurants. And what restaurant can survive if the owner says, I don't care what people want to eat, this is what I want, this is what I want to cook? That's a great way to go out of business very quickly. If you have a prasadam, it's prasadam, it's spiritual. But you don't cook what you want to cook. You cook what people want to eat and what they're going to buy. So when we do Harinam, it's not about us. We're already saved. We can be very humble and I'm the most fallen and blah, blah, blah. But the real fact is, if you're serving Prabhupada, you're saved. Now, a little while from now, whatever. It's about them, not about us. So why not make music that they actually want to hear, that they actually like? It's like a restaurant. What's the difference? Holy name, prasadam, they're all spiritual. Why not approach Harinam the way we approach Govinda's restaurant? Cook what people want to eat, not what you want to cook. And I think if we had that attitude, there are many devotee musicians, obviously, there are many different things, but if we went out on the street, if we took it seriously, if devotees became great musicians, if devotees really took music, just like if you cook for the deities, you take cooking seriously. So if you're going out to the public and you're making music, you should take it very seriously. Don't just go and bang, bang, bang on a drum. You may think it's ecstatic to bang on a drum, but other people may not. And so why don't we care about people? How are they going to care about us if we don't care about them? You see, we have a very good pseudo-philosophical excuse not to care about people, because they're going to be involuntarily purified. They're going to be automatically purified, even though Rupa Goswami says that will cause you to fall down if you think that way. Niyama agraha. So, this idea they'll be automatically purified frees us from any moral obligation to care about them. We don't care if they like the music or not. We don't care if our dress seems strange to them. We actually don't care. Because it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Well, their feelings, we're trying to attract the public, and there's this very powerful conviction among the devotees that the feelings of non-devotees don't matter. Their feelings don't matter. They're too stupid to have any useful feelings, and so we just go out there and involuntarily purify them. That contempt, the contempt toward the public, they reciprocate. We have contempt for them, and guess what they have for us? We don't care about their feelings, and guess what? They don't care about ours. To me, a real Vaishnava, you can't tell a real Vaishnava what's his dress style. I mean, I joined the Hare Krishna movement to get away from that. I mean, that's not, we joined the movement to find a real spiritual science, not to find a bunch of silliness where you are your clothes, in my opinion. And so I care about the people. I'm saved, not because I'm a great devotee, but because Prabhupada's very merciful. You know, I chant my rounds, I follow the principles, I try to serve, and so, you know, whether it's today or tomorrow or the next day, basically we're all saved by Prabhupada's mercy. It's not about us. It's about them. It's about the people who are not saved. And it's about actually being merciful and doing everything, you know, moving heaven and earth, doing everything necessary to help these people. And if we can do something, if we look at the list, if we look at Rupa Goswami's list, and we find something not on the list of fundamental principles, and therefore it's a detail, and if by making some little adjustment we can make it a little easier for the people of Denmark to come to Prabhupada, why aren't we doing that? Maybe you can find a good reason, I can't. If I could make it just a little easier, or even much easier, for the poor, as you said, they're all suffering, even if they're the happiest, they're still suffering. If we can make it a little easier or much easier for these fallen souls to find shelter with Prabhupada, why wouldn't I do that? Why in the world wouldn't I do that if I really care about people? But again, people think we're strange. We protect ourselves psychologically by tuning them out. We take a principle of Agyata Sukriti, we blow it up beyond anything found in Shastra. Krishna directly says a religious activity, including sacrifice, like Sankirtan, a religious activity performed without faith, and if you don't know about it, you can't believe in it, performed without faith has very little result. We have ignored what Krishna says. We have ignored Rupa Goswami's statement that if you think the results of bhakti are automatic, we ignore what Prabhupada told Giriraj just a few days before he left, that it is not enough just to chant Hare Krishna and follow the principles. You must be intelligent. We ignore all of that, and we just go out there and they'll be liberated involuntarily. Their feelings don't matter, their taste doesn't matter, their preference don't matter. And if I say do, then the answer is no, there's a bunch of meat-eating, evil, demonic, blah, blah, blah. Because emotionally, we can't afford to care about them, because if we do, we're going to be devastated by this massive negativity coming from hundreds of millions of people in the Western world. So we have to keep them in that box of basically stupid, degraded karmis whose opinions and feelings don't matter. It's an impasse. You know, it's like a soccer game where no one can score. So, forgive me if I've offended anyone or anything, but there's a lot at stake. The world's at stake. This is not, maybe I should be more polite, maybe I should be more something or other, or less something. But, we're talking about the fate of the world. I mean, haven't you ever seen a Bruce Willis movie? I guess you haven't. Anyway, actually Bruce Willis speaks bhagavad-gita. We're talking about the fate of the world. I mean, haven't you seen those movies where the world's going to end and some hero is frantically trying to save the world before it blows up? And that's what we're talking about. The world, we're talking about saving the planet. It's not just about sitting around and tuning your harmonium. We're talking about saving the planet and desperately trying to find a way to make people comfortable with us, to make it easier for them. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, for God's sake. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Namashaya kori jatane tumi takana apana kaje. Remain in your social position. It's not the duty of this movement to drag people out of their culture, to drag people out. You know, that was the early days. We joined the movement when people were very radical, young people. They left their homes, they left their families, they left school, they went out to some utopian community, and that became the model for ISKCON. That a real devotee kind of, you give up everything, and you join. That's not normal in history. That was a special time. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you stay in your position. If you are Danish, you remain Danish. But you add Krishna. That's the wrong message in my view. Give up everything which is, Danish and accept everything that's Indian. That's the wrong message. The message is, add Krishna to your life. Accept Prabhupada as your teacher. That's the message. Be a respectable person. We're not going to put you through this emotional torture of having all your friends and family think you're crazy. I talked to one of the senior Prabhupada disciples in Germany. He's very well known. I won't mention it, but I talked to him. And he had a good job. He was respected. Everyone liked him. One day they saw him out in Harinam, and that was it. Game over. That was it. Everyone liked him. Everyone respected him. It was over. They saw him once. And yet you have leaders going around saying, everyone loves us, everyone likes it. And there are innumerable stories like this. There are innumerable stories. So, I am just trying to do this for Prabhupada. If whatever anyone thinks of me, it's for Prabhupada. I'd rather have Prabhupada pleased and everyone else think I'm a jerk. Actually, maybe I am a jerk, but I'm still trying to do this for Prabhupada. It reminds me of this joke. In America, there's lawyer jokes. Have you ever had lawyer jokes in Denmark?
Not particularly. But
In America, they had all these jokes about lawyers. Everyone hated
because we have
lawyers.
so many lawyers. There are more lawyers in America, US, than in the rest of the world put together.
Oh my God! So this guy's walking down. This guy's walking down the street saying, "Lawyers are jerks. Lawyers are jerks." And so a man comes up and says, "I find your remarks very offensive." So the man said, "Are you a lawyer?" He said, "No, I'm a jerk." Anyway, I guess we'll end here. So thank you all very much for your patience. And again, I'm not trying to interfere with anything you do here in Denmark. You have to figure out the details. All I'm saying is that we have to find a way to make Prabhupada's mission successful in this country. We have to be a relevant, important spiritual movement in this country. And we have to figure out the way to do it. And I leave that to you. Prabhupada ki jai.
Yes. Brahman Maharaj ki jai.